All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Excited for today's webinar. We've got a lot of really cool things to share with you guys today. I'm excited to have with me both Liz Christensen and Tad Giles. Liz and Tad, if you guys want to turn your cameras on and wave hi to everybody. Great, welcome. So today we are having a webinar to introduce a brand new product to the Kuali family. And this has been a long time coming. And it's been something that's been in development in Kuali Labs and is now available to you all. And we're real excited to introduce it. The first time I got a glimpse of this a while back, I got real excited. It's just cool. It's just really neat, really fun, and I think you guys are really going to dig it. So with that, we'll get into it. I have to do a couple housekeeping things just to let everybody know that this webinar is being recorded. There is a Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom window. We'll be using that to post questions. So as we go through the webinar, think of any questions that you may have, use cases, does it work with this? Does it work with that? And we will do our best to get to all those questions over the course of the webinar. And if not, we will respond to your question offline and make sure your question gets answered. And I think that's about everything. I'll be watching those questions. I may pipe in from time to time with my own questions for you, Liz and Tad. But with that, what I think I'll do is hand things off to you, Liz. You're going to do a brief introduction for us, provide a little bit of background, and Tad is going to grace us with a demo of this really cool new app we've got featured for you all. So Liz, go ahead and take it away.
Great, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides there with all of you. There we go. Thank you for coming. I do especially want to thank all of the people that I've emailed to come. Last night I was furiously sending some of you emails. Thank you for signing up at the last minute because I wanted you to be able to see this. Introducing Kuali Bridge. It's our brand new product, our advanced integration product. We're so excited about it. So we're Kuali, and if you haven't met us before, we have 5 different product lines, and today we're really going to talk about the advancement of this Kuali Bridge to our Kuali platform. It's able to work across all of our products. Last month's webinar, this is really the second webinar in this series. We had last month's webinar, and in last month's webinar, I did this fire hose approach where I just, sat there and just threw information at you about our form building and how easy it is to drag and drop with our visual designer, our dynamic workflows with branching and conditional logic, how you're able to share data not only between your system and Kuali, but also between different Kuali apps and Kuali products, distributed management spaces, those subtenants that you all love so much. How do you trigger a form from another form? We talked about our integration tool that belongs to our platform right now. And then we talked about AI integration. So we are not covering any of this today. This is all covered in this fire hose approach last month. So did you miss it? Did you not see that? Because that is the webinar that you want to be able to see all of those things. So I'm just going to give you about 30 seconds to get your phones out of your pocket if you missed that webinar, and put your phones up to this QR code, and that's going to take you directly to that first webinar, none of which we're going to cover today. So I've been talking for about 15 seconds. I'll give you about 15 seconds more to be able to use this QR code.
You know what I'll do too, Liz?
Yeah.
Because I promised everybody that I would send a follow-up email with a link to this recording. I'll
Uh-huh.
include a link to that previous webinar also. So
Fantastic.
they
Thank you,
can't,
Paul.
if they're panicking trying to get their camera to work or the QR code isn't coming up, then you
That's
don't
so,
have to panic. I got you.
all right. Paul's got you. You don't have to panic. So that is my quick review of that first webinar. We promised you that we weren't going to, tell you all about Kuali. We wanted to tell you about our new product, Kuali Bridge. And so we've got Tad Jaws here is our CTO. He's one of the original creators of our Kuali platform. And so he's still really excited about building things on our platform. And I'm going to go ahead and quit sharing here and turn the mic over to you, Tad. The mic is yours. We're excited. We're all excited to see your share here.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. I'm going to talk about three things today. Just touch on our standard integrations, the integrations that we have in the platform today, and then I'll introduce Kuali Bridge real quickly, and then we'll spend the majority of the time in a demo. So standard integrations. You may have heard this before, that our standard integrations were created in a general purpose way, and we assert that we can connect to almost any system as long as it returns a JSON object or array. And these are some examples of the types of integrations that customers have done with the standard integrations, returning a list of campus facilities or returning a list of sponsors from the research administration system. I looked it up recently, and we've had over 3,000 integrations have been created on our platform today with the standard integrations. However, one of the things that we've run into with the standard integrations is, in order to do those powerful things, oftentimes it's required some middleware, and oftentimes you need to make multiple API requests in to make an integration works. Oftentimes you need to change the data and change the format so that it can match up with what the Kuali platform is expecting. And sometimes you hit an authentication method that's just off the standards and needs a little special approach. And that those things have kind of pushed people to need to use middleware, either a middleware platform or writing custom code to do that. And whenever we gave that answer of like, yes, you could do that, but it'll require middleware, that's not the happiest answer. And so that's what Kuali Bridge is about. Kuali Bridge is about integrating with other systems in a way that requires less middleware. And so it's a new add-on product, integrates with other systems with less middleware, and it works across the Kuali products that run on the platform. All of those can do this type of integration, can work with Kuali Bridge. And one really important thing is that for the people who are creating build apps or are modifying a Kuali product, working with these integrations, working with a bridge integration works exactly the same as the other integrations. So that two-tier configuration that we have, where the deeper technical configuration is down here in the integrations and bridge, but the simplified integration that is available to the form builders and the workflow builders, that stays the same. Kuali Bridge just works exactly the same. They don't see any difference. They don't know any difference. This is really for the people on the back end system. So Kuali Bridge is a product. It's a no-code tool. It has drag and drop with these nifty little nodes that you can connect together, and it allows you to make multiple API requests and transform data. And then one of the things it has that other systems don't have is it knows how to talk Kuali Platform natively. So it knows how to handle inputs coming from Kuali Platform, and it knows how to create outputs for Kuali Platform. And I'll be showing you how that works in the demo. You don't have to be a programmer to use this tool. There's no coding required, but you do need to have enough technical knowledge in order to know how to work with APIs and configure a URL and an authorization header and those types of things. So it does require some level of technical expertise. So I'm going to demo 4 different scenarios. One is selecting a program from a list of programs in a curriculum management system. Another is looking up some information in a sponsored programs system. And another is initiating a workflow from one workflow in the platform to another. And then finally, we'll look at integrating with an AI system to integrate some AI functionality with this. And so let's go to demo. So the first thing I wanted to do was just orient everyone. This is our quintessential program change request form. that we demo the heck out of. And we have these integrations set up so that when I go in here and search history, I can get a list. And it's going to work, I promise. And we're getting a pause. There we go. And it'll look up that information. I can get that list that I'm searching against, and I can get these auto-filled fields that look up department, and in this case, department and program description. So that's the type of integration that we're trying to enable. And Bridge is helping us just do more of those types of things with less middleware. So I'm going to jump back over here. And this requires permissions in order to be able to configure integrations, whether that's at a system administrator or a space administrator. And under integrations, when you have the bridge product, you can add a bridge. And so I'm going to add a bridge here. And you'll see I get this interface that's a drag and drop interface. And it initially starts with these two nodes. I have one node that's coming for inputs coming from a form. And then the other is outputs, things that are being sent out to a form or a workflow. And in this case, we're going to do selecting a program, that one that I just showed. And we're going to prompt we need a query input, and we're going to require that. So that's where on the form, I need a place where I'm going to type in the query of what I'm looking for. And this is going to take that input and connect it in. And as the output, we want a lookup list. We want that lookup list that'll show that list that I showed, where we get a list of the programs that come back. And so in order to do this, I have an API set up that I can connect to do that. The first thing I need to do is create the API has a parameter in the URL for that query parameter, and I need to set that up. So I'll come here and add a node. And then this will show you the nodes, that we have a large variety of nodes that are available that do all types of different things in order to provide as much functionality as we can. And we'll be adding more and more nodes over time as we see the need. Initially here, I'm going to use the compose message node. And in here, I'm going to type in a template for this API that I'm using. And we'll connect to kuali.ninja /API/programs $Q equals. And then when I do these left squiggly brackets like this, let me zoom that in a little bit more. You'll see that I create a parameter and that a variable that I can insert. And so then I could take the input from here, the query that comes from there, and I can connect it there. And then this is going to, when it gets executed, it'll output the URL with that query set up and embedded in there. The next thing we want to do in this one is add a API call. So I'm going to add an API call node. This has some different configurations. I'm going to choose the get method, and I'm going to take that URL that we created there and plug it in there. And then the return type, I want it to return JSON. And this is a demo API, so it doesn't have any authentication on it. So that's all we need for that. Now, what that does is that's going to hit that API, and it's going to return a list of programs that match that search criteria. So it's returning a list. And a list is what we need to supply to the lookup list. The lookup list needs two parameters, two attributes in a particular format. It needs an ID and it needs a label. And the content that comes back from this program lookup does not include those things. I'll show you an example of that. Here, this is the JSON that comes back from that program search. And you'll see that there's an ID. We have an ID for it, but we do not have a label. We do have a title field, and it'd be ideal if the title field were the label. So if I jump back here, I'm going to add a loop node. And since I have a list of items, I can insert a loop node, and I can take the output from that API call and connect it into that loop. And then I'm going to drill down into this loop. And what we're going to do here is in this loop, we're going to go through each item that's coming back from that API, and we're going to rename the title attribute to label. And we'll do a couple other things with that. So this thing comes back with JSON, and I'm going to look up and choose a node that's called rename. And rename allows me to take in an object and I can specify the old key, which is title, and specify a new key, which is label. And then I can connect that directly out to the result. And so this is going to go through each item in the list in a loop, and it's going to go through and just rename the attribute from title to label, which is what we need for the output that we're going to output to our form. In addition to that, we'd also like to have a couple of those autofill gadgets that we showed, like department or description. In order to do that, I can use this thing called a split object node. And the split object node, I can take that item that's coming in and connect it here. And I can connect and I can specify additional attributes that I want to split off from there. And then I can add a gadget. And we have, these are some of our standard gadgets. And I'm going to choose the gadget, the text gadget, and I'm going to connect code to that. And we're going to label that program code. And then I can take that gadget and connect it here to make it part of the output that gets generated. And then I can do the same thing with the description. We'll add another node for the a long text one. I'm getting cramped up here. Let's just do this up here. And we'll choose long text, bring that down there. And I can take description, connect it to the input of that gadget creator, that gadget node, and we'll just label this nicely description. And then we take that output and connect it to the gadget. So again, what the inside of this loop step is doing is it's taking and renaming one of the attributes from title to label and just doing that with each item in the list. And then it's also going through and it's pulling off each item from the list and creating a text gadget called program code and a long text gadget called description that can be those autofill fields that you see on a form. So then when I close that, I can then take these outputs and I can take JSON here and connect it to that data array, which is expecting ID and label. And I can take the gadgets and connect them so that those get output as well. And then I can test it. So I come down and click this test button and you'll see it's prompting for that query parameter. And I'm going to put in history. And it crashed. I should have mentioned first, before I did this, that we're not done yet. And we haven't released this quite yet. We're still in early beta where it's pretty functional. But you'll see, like I just did there, I just hit a crash and it crashed and I lost some work. That's a bad bug. We're going to have to get that fixed before we have you using that.
So the timing of this webinar, Tad, we had Kuali Days. Gosh, was that last week? It feels like it was longer. A lot's happened. So yeah, we wanted to make sure at Kuali Days that everybody had a chance to see what's coming and, you know, the cat's out of the bag. And so we didn't want to delay on getting the news out to everybody else. So this was an opportunity to make sure all our customers knew what was going on. But you've shown a lot already, Tad. And one thing I'm hoping you can do here, the thing that really made an impression on me the first time I saw Bridge was integration in my mind is a non-technical, you know, I understand it, but at a very abstract level. And integration of systems has always seemed like a sort of abstraction. And this was the first time where I could see those integrations kind of mapped out in a way that made sense to me visually. And so I'm wondering, is it possible, I don't know if you lost it because it's not here, but are you able to zoom out to show?
I can pull up another one.
Yeah,
So I'm
because
going to
it's that view, you know, and if it were me configuring these integrations, one thing that I would be doing quite a bit is zooming in and out and rearranging everything so that everything fit neatly onto the, I'll call this a design board so that I could, in my mind, make the abstract become more concrete, which is what this sort of illustrates, being able to connect those all the nodes together and see where everything is going. Yeah, it's pretty great. And hopefully that answers. Joel had asked the question as to whether or not we could zoom out and see what it all looks like. We have a couple new questions coming in, Tad. Uh, will there be additional training videos available?
Yeah, we're still working on that and working on documentation. But yes, we will definitely have help and support to help you learn the system.
Yeah. And then the question I knew was coming in this webinar from our friend Jason Ferguson. This comes up every time we show someone Bridge. And that question is, can Bridge be used between two non-Kuali systems, or is it strictly a way of integrating with the Kuali Platform products?
Currently, it only works with the Kuali Platform products. Um, we might get into that further down the road, but initially we're focusing on just getting those integrations with the Kuali product and Kuali Platform.
Cool. All right. And our next question comes from Brad, and it's a long question, so I'm going to read it to you slowly, but it's a use case scenario, and we'll see what we can come up with here. So, could Bridge be used to solve the following scenario? A build form with a repeater that captures approvers. If the same approver is in there multiple times, can Bridge be used in the workflow to only send each approver one approval? We'll start with that one. Here's more context as you think about that, Ted. We have a
All right.
situation where people add financial IDs to a repeater, which pulls in the approver. If multiple IDs have the same approver, they are trying to approve multiple times since we can't compare data in multiple repeater entries to each other. Are you tracking this? This is a complex question.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I'm tracking it.
Yeah,
Um,
so could Bridge be a step after submission that compares the data from each repeater entry and then only sends the unique approvals?
uh, Today, I don't think that could be done. We haven't introduced, we've only introduced just a simple Boolean conditional check so far, and we need to have conditional logic. We need to have like a conditional logic node in Bridge that would allow you to like loop through that list and say, if this is not unique, then pull it out or and remove it. We don't have that in there today. Uh, but we know we need, that's one of the gaps that we know we have to plug. We've got to be able to do conditional logic in here.
Yeah,
I would say on that specific thing that we need to provide a way in the repeater where you could just configure it and say, this has to be unique. And that's on our roadmap, I think later this year. So that specific problem, I hope we can address just with a config option that we need to add. But today, Bridge couldn't quite do that yet.
got it. Okay. All right. Now, one of the things that you also introduced with Kuali Bridge during Kuali Days is the ability to use Bridge to integrate different AI solutions. Can you talk briefly a little bit about how Bridge comes pre-configured for AI?
Yeah. So uh, we have, we're preparing to release, we haven't released these yet, we're introducing a new feature that we call quality integrations. And the initial set of quality integrations are a set of integrations that integrate with Anthropic Claude and with OpenAI. And these integrations would come pre-configured. You don't need Quali Bridge in order to use these. These will just be available to everyone. Um, and you don't need that tool. When you work with one of these, initially they're turned off and not available in the system. A system administrator has to turn them on. And so if I go into one of those, you'll see that it prompts, and in this case, you bring us and input your API key. So you need an account on Anthropic Claude, and you get an API key there and come here and put that in. And then you determine which apps are going to be, that's going to be shared with. And this one I've been messing with, but by default, these are all set to do not share when they are deployed on our system. And those allow us to start to integrate um, the AI and other systems in that. If under the covers, what that's doing is executing this same type of integration. And in this case, we have we support a variety of inputs. If you look at this over here, instructions that if you're familiar with working with AI, the instructions could be the system prompt, and then input is the input that's coming from the form, and then we have variables that can be used. And then I'm taking that content and I'm configuring a body that can be used which is the body that in this case OpenAI needs. I'm taking those variables and merging them into a template, and then we're making an API call to OpenAI here, and then we're splitting off that content in order to do a single lookup with that. And to
So
show,
how,
let me show how that works when I plug it into a form. So if I go back to our program change request, one of the things we've thought about is in the program change request, maybe we could provide some help to the student to give them a little guidance on the explanation they're giving for this change. So I'm going to call this help, and I'm going to connect to one of these, in this case, the OpenAI GPT-4 one. And again, these integrations that come built in, we call them Kuali integrations, do not require the Kuali Bridge product. They're separate. And in here, I can configure, in this case, I'm going to configure a fixed value for the instructions. And I've got some instructions set up here where I'm saying, give advice to a student writing a reason for changing their major. Identify spelling and grammar errors. Do not rewrite it for them. Make them do the work. Return the advice in a short paragraph, no bullet points. And if I copy that and put that over in there, and then in the input, I'm going to point that at the reason for change field. And so that's going to be the input that's coming that we're going to send to the AI. So then when I run that, I've got some sample input that I made up for our student. I'm going to copy and put that in. Here's what the student may have put in. And when they put that in, we make this API request, and it's coming back. And here's what the AI said. When writing your reason for changing your major, ensure it conveys your enthusiasm for your new path. Be mindful of spelling and grammar. Cause should be because, and things like that. Paying attention to these details can help make your statement more compelling and polished. That's just one way these could be used. We think these AI integrations can be used in a wide variety of different ways.
yeah, I'm thinking about research off the top of my head here, and just grants and just anything within instructions or anything that requires feedback. If you're kicking off a workflow that's going to require approvals, it would be great to have a helper, a co-pilot, or a friend along the way to kind of coach you and make sure you're putting the best possible input. And I would imagine that also speeds time to approval, right? The amount of time that it takes to get through a workflow. So there's, an infinite number of use cases or different ways that, particularly with forms, where AI integration can be a benefit. You also, I recall, had some ideas for ways that AI could be integrated into workflow.
Yeah. One idea we have there is we have an integration that can summarize a document. So I could insert this integration at the beginning of a workflow right after a document is submitted. And I'll choose this, and I'm going to choose the Anthropic Claude summarize document. And it's going to prompt for instructions and a document ID. And in this case, I'm going to give it instructions and say, summarize this document in a few short sentences. And then I'm going to point it at the ID of this document, which is metadata on the form. And what this does is underneath the covers, it's going to take the entire contents of the form, all of the fields, and it's going to submit that to the AI and prompt for a summary. And then it's going to return the summary and attach it as a new metadata on the form. And then that summary could be displayed in the form so that like reviewers and approvers could get a high level summary of the document, and that could be automatically generated based on the content of the document.
Pretty great. Pretty great. Yeah. And so, there's no audio from our participants coming in, but when you shared some of these at Kuali Days, people became very, very animated. And of course, the question at the top of everyone's mind right now is, when can I get it? That came up a lot at Kuali Days, and I know everybody on the webinar now is asking that question. Do we have a sense of when the official release will happen for Kuali Bridge?
I don't have a date yet. We, as you saw, we have some bugs that we need to finish, and we're also starting to get some early feedback on gaps that we may need to address. But our intent is to do it as quickly as possible. Um, Sometime this summer or sooner is my hope. If you're really interested in it, you can contact your account manager, and we can get you set up with an eval, and so you can get exposure to it there. I will warn, we don't have documentation and help yet, but we can help you get started with that if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah. And that was our goal. We wanted to announce it at Quality Days. We wanted to make sure all our customers knew now as early as possible what was coming so you could start making plans for the official launch when it's live later this summer. So we still have a little more work to do on our end to shore things up, get all that documentation in place. But for everybody on the webinar today, and those who might tune in later, yeah, start thinking about some of the different ways that you can use Kuali Bridge to bring your systems together into the Kuali platform. All right, we have one last question. Actually, I'll use this opportunity, Tad, to invite everybody on the webinar today to ask a question. Again, there's a Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom window. If you find that, you'll have the opportunity to punch a question in. But we have one from Zach, and he asks if you envision Kuali Bridge being used with the GraphQL APIs, either to manipulate data or make updates? Or do you think GraphQL APIs don't need that functionality?
Uh, I'd say that a bridge can call the Kuali GraphQL API. And in fact, that's that summarized document one that I just talked to you, that I just showed you. Um, Under the covers, it's the first thing it does is make an API call to the Kuali platform to return the contents of that document. And then it takes that document and transforms it into something that can be sent to the AI. And then the AI does the summary and returns the information. So you can absolutely do GraphQL calls in here. You can do GraphQL calls in our standard integrations today, which many of our customers do. But yeah, there's times when you may want to do updates to the document, or and this can be used to do those types of operations as well.
And then we had someone ask about pricing. We don't have pricing yet. That's something that will come out as we make the announcement. It's something that's being deliberated internally right now as we go out and evaluate, all the different data inputs. We want to make sure that we have a fair price and an accessible price for everybody as well. Okay, last chance for questions, folks. Tad, while we wait, any parting thoughts on Bridge?
Uh, our goal here is just to reduce the amount of middleware that you need in order to integrate with other systems, and we want to do that with all of the quality products on the platform.
Yeah,
Bridge
and
is Bridge is our answer for that.
thanks, Tad. And I'm thinking that also, we want to make integration as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. Oftentimes, integration can be a sort of bottleneck for a lot of systems for rolling out different Kuali platform products. And we really hope and anticipate this being a way to accelerate those implementations and really give your end users, your customers at the university across campus, what they're hoping for with their rollout of their Kuali products as quickly as possible. All right, so a lot more to come. That's it for now. I hope everybody's excited. We certainly are. So stay tuned. Keep an eye on your email inbox. We'll have more information coming soon. Tad,
And
thank
Paul,
you. Yeah,
can
Liz,
I
go
say
ahead.
something real quick? If you want to contact your rep, if you're, if I'm your rep or Danny or Sam, we are talking pricing with folks, so they could contact us.
Cool. All right, Liz, Tad, thank you very much. And thank you everybody who joined us today. We had a great turnout. Just exciting to see a lot of familiar names on here tuning in. So hi to all of our Kuali customers who joined us. Just love seeing you jump into these things. And with that, we will wrap this thing up. Thanks, team.
Thank you all.
Bye.